Hello, dear students. How are you all? Today, we will be reading an important editorial from the newspaper The Hindu. We have selected this editorial considering that it is highly rich in vocab. So, I hope you will focus on the words that have been used here and how the structures or different sentences have been created out of these words. As you can see, the title of the editorial is Hizbullah, which literally means the party of God. सो लेट्स बिगिन बाय रीडिंग द जिस्ट ऑफ द एडिटोरियल ताकि हमें एक आइडिया मिले कि इस एडिटोरियल में क्या कुछ कहा गया है. Hezbollah was formed in 1982 during Israel's invasion of Lebanon with help from Iran. In its first manifesto, released in 1985, the group called for the destruction of the state of Israel. Over the years, Hezbollah has built sprawling social and political networks with deep roots in Lebanon's Shia community and made itself the most powerful non-state actor in West Asia. When Israel withdrew from southern Lebanon in 1982 after 18 years of occupation, Hezbollah celebrated it as the first Arab victory in the history of अरब इसराइली कन्फ्लिक्ट. अब इस खुलासे के बाद हमें यही समझ में आया कि दिस इज़ ऑल अबाउट हिजबुल्लाह, हाउ दिस वाज फॉर्म्ड एंड हाउ इट डेवलप्ड ओवर द ईयर्स. तो चलिए अब इसके मेन टेक्स्ट को पढ़ते हैं. विथ इसराइल इंटेंसिफाइंग इट्स बम्बार्डमेंट ऑफ गाजा, in which more than 7,700 people were killed in 22 days. Fears of a wider regional war are also rising. Israel started bombing Gaza, a tiny defenseless enclave of 2.3 million people, after Hamas, an Islamist militant group that controls the land strip, carried out a cross-border raid on October 7, killing at least 1,400 Israelis. After Israel started the retaliatory strikes, Hezbollah, a Lebanese Shia militant group that had fought Israel in the past, fired rockets into the Sheba Farms, a Lebanese territory on the border that Israel occupies, showing solidarity with the Palestinians. Last week, Hezbollah's leader Hassan Nasrallah met Hamas and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad leaders and offered support for the Palestinian resistance. Some Hezbollah fighters also tried to infiltrate into northern Israel after the Gaza war began. Israel responded with heavy shelling of southern Lebanon. As tensions rise, the world is watching whether Hezbollah would open another front or Israel carry out preemptive strikes in Lebanon, widening the conflict. Ironically, the roots of Hezbollah go back to Israel's 1982 war on Lebanon, which the then Likud Prime Minister Menahem Begin said would bring 40 years of peace for Israel. Lebanon was in the grip of devastating civil war that began in 1975. According to Lebanon's post-French constitution, power was divided among the country's different communities. The presidency is reserved for Christians, the premiership for Sunnis, and the speakership for the Shias. Roughly 40% of Lebanon's population are Arab Shias. The influx of the Palestinian refugees into Lebanon and the relocation of the Palestinian Liberation Organization (PLO) to Lebanon from Jordan in 1971 would create fissures in the country's delicate confessional system. While the Sunnis and Maronite Christians were the powerful sects, Shias were the invincible majority, sidelined by the major players and post-colonial institutions. Israel attacked Lebanon in 1978 and 1982, first to push the PLO out of the border region and then out of the country. In 1982, the PLO would agree to leave Lebanon, but one community that bore the brunt of Israelis' disproportionate bombing was the already marginalized Shias. 3 years earlier, a geopolitical earthquake had shaken West Asia in Iran, which was an American ally. Shia mullahs captured power. Iran, which was already fighting a conventional war with Iraq 1980 to 1988, sensed an opportunity in Lebanon's chaos. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps of Iranian regime helped mobilize thousands of Shias in Lebanon in 1982 to form a loose network of what was then unofficially called the Islamic Resistance. Now let's read about the early attacks. One of the first targets of the Islamic resistance was the multinational forces MNF deployed in Lebanon. In April 1983, the US Embassy in Beirut was bombed, killing 63 people. In October, 305 people, mostly American and French soldiers, were killed in suicide attacks on their military barracks. Following these attacks, the MNF would leave the country, providing the first victory to the newly organized Shia militants. Israeli troops retreated to a security zone in southern Lebanon. In 1985, the Islamic resistance would come up with a manifesto calling for the destruction of the State of Israel, vowing to oust occupied forces from Lebanon and declaring allegiance to Iran's supreme leader. According to some reports, it was Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, the supreme leader, who picked the name Hezbollah, literally the party of God, for the new movement. Over the years, Hezbollah has built sprawling social, political, and military networks with deep roots in Lebanon's Shia community. In southern Lebanon, a Shia stronghold, it carried out a disciplined, effective, popular guerrilla war against the occupying Israeli forces, turning the security zone into what Adam Stans calls an insecurity zone. The party organization has been built in a Leninist order, centralizing authority in the hands of the Secretary General. The chief would oversee a 7 member Shura Council, like the Politburo of a communist party, and then there are sub councils. Their social network caters to the Shia working class, offering support including healthcare and education assistance in a country where the state is systematically weak, while the political and parliamentary councils have played the role of a kingmaker in Lebanon's fractured polity since 1992. Yet the most important arm is the Jihad Council, which controls its military activities. Israel assassinated Hezbollah's co-founder Abbas al-Musawi in 1992 as part of a policy of targeted killings to weaken rival outfits. But the man who succeeded Musawi, Hassan Nasrallah, turned Hezbollah into a socio-politico-militant giant, a state within the state. Though it has been designated as a terrorist outfit by Israel and its allies, in 2000, after 18 years of occupation, Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak decided to unilaterally withdraw from southern Lebanon, which Hezbollah celebrated as the first Arab victory in the history of Arab-Israeli conflict. But Israel's withdrawal would not quieten the Lebanese border. Hezbollah said it would continue to fight the Israelis as long as its occupation of Sheba farms and Palestinian territories continues. In its 2019 updated manifesto, Hezbollah reiterated its commitment for the destruction of Israel. War with Israel. In 2006, after Hezbollah carried out a raid and abducted two Israeli soldiers, Prime Minister Ehud Olmert declared war against the militant group. The war lasted for over 30 days, and even on the last day of fighting, Hezbollah launched hundreds of rockets into Israel. Israeli airstrikes and ground attacks destroyed much of Hezbollah's military infrastructure, but the group survived and emerged politically stronger in Lebanon. In the subsequent years, Hezbollah rebuilt its military power mainly with help from Iran. From the 1980s, Syria's Ba'athist regime has been a conduit between Iran and Hezbollah. When Bashir al-Assad's regime was losing control in the midst of the Syrian civil war, Nasrallah dispatched thousands of soldiers to fight alongside the Syrian army. Hezbollah emerged stronger out of the Syrian conflict with newly gained battlefield experience. It has also strengthened the Iran-Syria-Hezbollah axis. Israel sees Hezbollah as a potent rival. According to the International Institute for Strategic Studies, London, the militia has up to 20,000 active fighters and as many reservists with an arsenal of small arms, tanks, drones, and long range rockets. Last November, while briefing about Israel's past conflicts with Hezbollah on the Lebanese border, an Israeli brigadier told this writer they never underestimated Hezbollah, which has now amassed more than 1 lakh rockets. Hezbollah is a tough enemy. They have very good military equipment. They are very well trained, he said, requesting anonymity. That Israel has mobilized 350,000 troops suggests that it is taking the risk of a wider war seriously. Hezbollah, on the other side, keeps everyone guessing while reiterating its rhetorical support for Hamas. We are fully ready to fight Israel when time comes, says the party of God. So, this was all in this editorial. Thank you so much.